book I chose to do for my first book talk is Native Son by Richard Wright. And I was actually exposed to this book through one of my American Literature 2 teachers, Professor Doss, because she had us read a piece by Richard Wright, and this was in the beginning introduction. It talks a little bit about him, his biography, and it discussed this book, Native Son, and I thought it sounded really interesting, so I bought it off Amazon and read it, and now I'm going to talk to you about it today and tell you how I think it can be used in your classroom when you become an English teacher. Brief summary about the book. It's set in the 1930s in Chicago, and the main character, Bigger Thomas, is identified as an uneducated black man who is in probably the lowest economical status. He comes from a very poor family, and he lives in a rat-infested apartment with his mother and 3 other siblings. Bigger's mother is constantly on his back to get a job, and so he does decide to go into the working world. He comes from a background where he's constantly getting in trouble with his friends, doing things like robbing gas stations or from white people, upper white class, and that's where you see a big racial divide here in the story. Bigger obtains a job as a chauffeur for the Dalton family. They are a very rich upper-class white family, and it consists of Mr. and Mrs. Dalton and their daughter Mary. Bigger is getting paid $25 a week, and it also includes board to stay there and drive the family around wherever they need to go. His first task is to drive Mary to the university for her night classes. And he's heard rumors about Mary Dalton before. She's constantly going against her parents' will. She has an affiliation with the Communist Party, and her boyfriend is a white man named Jan, who is one of the leaders in a communist organization, and her parents definitely frown upon this. Instead of going to her classes, Mary asks Bigger to take her to a couple different places with Jan. And throughout the night, probably the course of a few hours, Mary and Jan are in the back seat, and Mary gets very, very drunk off of some whiskey that Jan has provided her. And so when the night ends, Bigger's strictly following orders and taking them wherever they want to go. He takes Jan home and realizes that Mary is so drunk that she can't get up into her room and go to bed by herself, and therefore he has to basically carry her to her room. Well, Mrs. Dalton must have heard the fumbling around, and so she comes into the room to see what's going on. But due to her disability of being blind, she cannot see Bigger, and Bigger is very scared of getting caught because he is a black man in a white woman's room, and it's of course going to look bad. So he puts a pillow over Mary's face, and she suffocates and dies. And this is the very beginning of the story, and so Bigger is very frantic. He doesn't know what to do. He knows that he'll get in trouble for the murder, even though it was accidental, so he takes Mary and throws her body in the furnace. And this is the beginning of the story, and it all escalates, and now Bigger is on the run as a black man who has committed murder. And this is when we really get into the themes of the story, and once he's caught, we see multiple themes such as the justice system, how Bigger tries to take the law into his own hands. He has a lawyer who's also part of the Communist Party, so we see the historical value there, as well as the black man versus the white man. And there's a lot of themes as well, including how Bigger's character changes throughout the story and how he turns into an even violent, angrier man. I think it would work well in the classroom. I actually use it in my unit plan, so when that gets posted, you can see that. It relates to Kill a Mockingbird, which is a classic literature, because it has a lot of the same themes. And I really actually enjoyed the book. I think it is appropriate for high schoolers as long as you have a mature classroom, because there are some sexual scenes that go on with Bigger and his girlfriend, and it might make people uncomfortable if they're not mature enough. I strongly recommend Native Son, and please look at my handout to find a little more about the story. Thanks.